Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you can tell by the theme song there, none other than South Boston Jeff, celebrity stalking right here on our radio version of After Hours.
That's me.
Unbelievable, Jeff. Now, obviously, this is the radio version, so we'll not be showing any clips of you celebrity stalking. But I want to get it right off the top here. What is the most pain-in-the-ass celebrity you have ever been stalked by, or you stalking?
I would have to say Molly Shannon wasn't very nice to me.
Why wasn't Molly Shannon nice to you, from star of Saturday Night Live?
Well, I used to have when she started out, I used to like when she did Mary Catherine Gallagher on Saturday Night Live, and I kind of developed a crush, but that crush ended when I met her because I got a little too physical with her, and I kind of grabbed her by his sweatpants.
Okay, how did you get physical with Molly Shannon, Jeff? I want to know this.
Well, she tried to walk away from me, and I grabbed her by the sweatpants and pulled her back. Sure, she didn't like that very much.
And did she sign the thing for you?
Yeah.
Well, you got it anyway, so who cares?
Sure.
But we're talking about stuff here. We're talking about the world of entertainment. This is now the summer of 2011, our first radio broadcast. And we're talking about some of these summer remakes that are coming out that we're not very happy about. Now, you and I, we've known each other for a long time. Used to watch the very same movies growing up and all that other stuff. And we're a big fan of stuff that came out in the 1980s.
We are.
Now, I think the stuff that came out in the 1980s should stay in the 1980s. I mean, the 1980s only ended, what, 22 years ago? It's not even time to make remakes, let alone of stuff from the 70s, but not talking about stuff in the 80s. And the first movie that they're remaking on the top of the list that I'm very annoyed about is they are remaking the 1982 John Milius classic, Conan the Barbarian.
Ah, gee whiz. That's not going to be any good.
It's not, even though it's in 3D, there is only one Conan. I'm not talking about O'Brien. I'm talking about Barbarian, and that's Arnold Schwarzenegger.
You are right. You are right.
I mean, granted, he's had his problems over the last couple of years. He's fathered 1 million children out there. He was the former governor of California. He got what he needed out of the Kennedys, but he is the one and only Conan the Barbarian. I am utterly appalled that they are remaking this. It hasn't even officially 30 years yet. 29 years ago, this movie came out.
Right, and well, they're not going to get anybody else like James Earl Jones either.
That's right. He turned into what? The Snake?
The Snake, yeah, that was interesting.
Thulsa Doom. Now, for those of you who haven't seen Conan the Barbarian, you're missing out on it. Do skip over this horrible remake that's coming out. Go get it on DVD, Blu-ray, or VHS, or whatever. Conan the Barbarian, unbelievable movie. My favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movie of all time, and he's had 1 billion of them. And the sequel wasn't that bad either, Conan the Destroyer.
Oh, I love that one.
Bambata.
The Bada. That was played by who? Wilt Chamberlain?
Wilt Chamberlain.
Unbelievable. That was an awesome movie. That wasn't really like...
You had Grace Jones in there, too.
Yeah,
Grace Jones.
Well, you were right. She is gross. Grace Jones is gross. But Conan the Barbarian was very more operatic. I mean, it had that wonderful film score, the cinematography, like I said. John Milius directed, the guy who did Red Dawn. It was just an unbelievable movie. And the second one, like I said, is really a popcorn movie for teenagers in the 80s.
Right.
It didn't take itself so serious. It was unbelievable. That one I am not going to see, never will see. I'm not a big fan of remakes. The only remake that I kind of liked was Superman Returns. And the only reason I like that is they followed the storyline of the original Christopher Reeve movies. Another movie that they're remaking from the 1980s that's coming out this year is a remake of the cult horror classic Fright Night.
Oh, boy. I don't know if I'm going to go see that, even though the original was a little slow. It was kind of like a soap opera of some kind, but, oh, I loved that movie. Who are they going to get to play Jerry Dandridge?
Jerry Dandridge is being played by Colin Farrell.
Oh, no.
I mean, come on. I mean, this guy hasn't done a good movie yet.
Oh, boy. I haven't seen anything good, and this isn't going to be good.
The only movie he was good in was the Steven Spielberg movie Minority Report.
Okay, didn't see that one.
You didn't? Well, that was actually a very good one. I highly recommend that. Of the Steven Spielberg New Millennium movies, that's probably one of the best one he's done. But Colin Farrell was in that atrocious movie, Phone Booth.
Oh, boy, yeah, that was atrocious.
I mean, I can't buy him as a vampire. Jerry Dandridge was suave and debonair and cool. Colin Farrell is a guy from Ireland. For those of you who don't know it, he hides it very well with his American accent, but that's not cool. And the only thing cool about this I heard is, what's his name there? McLovin is playing Evil Ed.
Oh, yeah, the kid from Superbad.
All right, that's about the only good highlight is. Can you give us an Evil Ed impersonation from the 1980s, Jeff?
Oh, you're so cool, Brewster.
Unbelievable. You are a walking internet movie database. Another movie I've heard, they're rumored they're going to be remaking, is another Arnold Schwarzenegger classic. No, it's not Commando. We're talking about Total Recall.
Oh, no. They're not.
They are remaking this. It's been 22 years since the first Total Recall, the only Total Recall. And the story of that one was Arnold Schwarzenegger had his memory wiped, and he was originally a bad guy, became a good guy, and took on the rebels, and now he released air so everybody can breathe on Mars.
Get your ass to Mars.
Oh, yeah. And Sharon Stone was unbelievable in that
when
movie.
I seen when she said, "You want to tie me up?" I think everybody in the world was jumping on the screen going, "Yes." Unbelievable. That was even better than Basic Instinct scene.
Oh, maybe.
That was the hottest.
disagree.
That was the hottest Sharon Stone has ever looked in Total Recall.
Sure, I agree.
Unbelievable. They're not gonna have big names like that. And what was that little mogwai in this guy's stomach? Quado. Yeah,
Quattro.
Quattro. I mean, that was. I mean, Total Recall. You cannot beat Total Recall. Benny the cab driver.
Oh, he was great and everything. And I just hope they're going to have another alien with 3 boobs.
Yeah, but it'll all be CGI now. It'll be 4 boobs on there, and it'll be stupid. Well, I don't even want to talk about the remake of Total Recall anymore, but here's one that really pisses me off. I heard through the rumor mill, and I've heard this for a couple years now, that they wanted to remake this. 1979, Jeff, what was the greatest movie that ever came out in 1979? Do not say The Black Hole.
Well, come to think of it, my favorite movie from 1979 was had to be the Warriors.
You're exactly right. They are remaking The Warriors,
Oh,
the
don't
Walter Hill classic, The Warriors.
Oh, don't even tell me.
Now, for those of you who haven't seen The Warriors, the movie is very simplistic and it's unbelievable. All the gangs in New York go up to the Bronx for a big meeting led by Cyrus. Cyrus wants to organize all the gangs in New York to become like this super gang. One of the gangs, the Rogues, doesn't want anything to do with it, and they blow away Cyrus to lead it, and they put the heat on the Warriors, and the Warriors now have to run from the Bronx all the way back to CI, Coney Island.
They got to bop their way back.
They do got to bop their way back. You actually said that to Vermin at a convention one time.
Yeah, Berman's not a bad guy and everything. He just didn't want his picture taken.
You know what he does now? He's like a news broadcaster in New York and New Jersey.
Oh, I never knew
He must
that.
get stopped on the street all the time. I hate waiting for trains.
Oh, okay.
But if they are going to remake this movie, I heard they're going to it's not going to take place in New York. It's going to take place in the gangs of Los Angeles.
Oh, no, there's no need for that.
And it's going to be ridiculous. I know my good friend Mike out there, who's a die-hard Warriors fan, is probably going to go out there and blow up the movie set because there's no way they need to remake the Warriors. But since they are, who would you recast as Cyrus, the main gang leader?
Well, a few years ago, about 10 years ago, Samuel L. Jackson would have been pretty good.
About 10 years ago, he would have been. But 10 years ago, he was too busy being Mace Windu chopping down Siths.
That sounds, yeah, that's true. Makes sense.
You know who I would pick?
Who would you pick?
All right, it's a little off the cuff, but if you go back and you think of Cyrus had a captivated audience that he was just like enthralled with, and everybody was staring at him, and he had that rhythm to him. I think the perfect casting for Cyrus in the new remake of The Warriors is none other than The Rock.
Oh, boy, Dwayne Johnson?
Dwayne Johnson.
That's a very interesting analogy.
Wouldn't you say that Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, would make an unbelievable Cyrus, Jeff?
Oh, sure, he could pull it off, definitely.
Can you dig it or smell what he's cooking? Unbelievable. But I hope it never happens because I do not want to see a remake of the 1979 Walter Hill classic, The Warriors. I'm sorry.
I think the Warriors would get their collective asses kicked if they ever went into Compton.
That's right. Yeah. Well, the only team that could survive, the only gang out there would be the Lizzies.
Oh, maybe they would.
The chicks are packed. The chicks are packed. But a movie that's out right now is none other than another adaptation of Planet of the Apes, Jeff. Have you seen the remake of Planet of the Apes? I'm not talking about the one that starred Dirk Diggler about 11 years ago.
Well, I couldn't even make it through it. It was so bad.
Really? I heard this had great reviews. Oh, you're talking about the one with Dirk Diggler. Okay,
That's the one I'm talking about.
All right, I'm talking about the new one that just came out. I heard
haven't.
that this one is. I got 5 stars by some people.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to see it.
I'm looking forward to see it. It's Jeff. You have the bootleg movies. When are you going to score this one?
Oh, next time I go to New York to stalk celebrities, maybe I'll grab one. Well, maybe I'll get one.
Right there in Times Square, you'll grab one off one of the dudes off the street.
Sure.
And these are actually better than the ones that used to bootleg like 10, 15 years ago where they had the camcorders in the movie theater. These ones are actually, I don't know where they get these awesome print copies of them, but, kudos to the bootleggers down in New York City for the movies.
Oh, God love them.
But the reason you're here tonight, Jeff, is a new feature here on our inaugural radio broadcast is you're going to be talking about movies that are already on DVD that you like to watch over and over and over and over again. Now, for me personally, the scene I like to watch on DVD over and over and over again is the scene from Fast Times at Ridgemont High when Phoebe Cates come out of the pool.
Well, that was
My
I'm speechless with that.
My VHS copy of that, the tracking is so off on that one. I'm glad it just came out on Blu-ray, so we can relive all that gloriness once and for all in crystal clear, high definition. Phoebe, if you're out there, you can swim in my pool anytime. But the movie you're talking about tonight, Jeff, is none other than the 1982 Jim Henson Frank Oz production of The Dark Crystal.
One of my favorites from 1982. It was a movie with no actors whatsoever. It was all Jim Henson puppeteering. With there were a couple races of people left on this forbidden planet. There were the gentle mystics, which were these old things with 4 arms, and the Skeksis. My favorite Skeksi was the Chamberlain. I am friend. Well, I'd like to be a friend of the Skeksis, but the movie's about a race of people who are actually looking to restore the Dark Crystal, and they send a young gelfling out to
a Radio Shack to get batteries to recharge the Dark Crystal or something?
Actually, he didn't go to Radio Shack. He had to get a piece of the crystal shard from this old woman called Agra. She kind of sounded like this. She was this 900-year-old 3-foot witch kind of thing, and I would think she would make the perfect match for Yoda.
You think she could be a Bane squeeze to Yoda, the Jedi Master?
Oh, sure. They're both about 900 years old, well,
it's a small world. The movie was directed by Frank Oz, who performed Yoda in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
That's true.
Unbelievable. Now, Chamberlain, I've seen this movie a couple times. In 1982, it was. I saw it a few times, but it wasn't on my top list for 1982. But the Skeksis always reminded me, Jeff. Now, remember our lunch table at high school? Jeff and I have known each other for a long period of time. Remember how disgusting that lunch table was with all those grovelers that used to sit at that table, spilling milk and dipping their tater tots in it? It kind of reminded me of the banquet scene with the Skeksis.
With the roast nebri.
Roast Nebri, I want the rappies.
Yes, it was a lot like that.
It was a lot like that, but instead of roast Nespri there, they had tater tots and ketchup.
Oh, boy.
Unbelievable. Now, a lot of parents didn't want to take their kids to this movies in 1982 because Safe and Cuddly E.T. was out at the time, and then they went to see this. They were thinking Jim Henson, the Muppets. They're thinking Kermit the Frog, Miss Piggy and whatnot. But in actually scenes here, they actually melted some of the Gelfling's brains. Remember that scene?
Oh, that was quite a scary scene. It was a little podling thing, a little thing that looked like a potato. They were called the podlings. Yeah, that would frighten me as a child, and I also wouldn't hug a Skeksi.
No, I wouldn't hug a Skeksi. Anyway, they kind of remind me of gym socks worn by the Colonel, but that's a different story for a different time. But the Dark Crystal. Now, you say you watch this once a month?
About once a month, I get my Dark Crystal in. It's still a very impressive movie, and the acrobatics of the acrobats that perform all the puppeteering are just amazing.
You're absolutely right. There is talent back then. Jim Henson had talent for, the guy who created the Muppets. Now, nowadays, everything's done on a computer. Now, the only thing I can kind of compare this to in modern times would be Avatar. I mean, they had the weird-looking characters and whatnot, but I don't understand the attraction of Avatar. For me, I saw it. It was like watching a 3-hour video game.
It was kind of, but the 3D was very impressive. The most impressive 3D I've ever seen since Friday the 13th 3.
I was just going to say that. Friday the 13th Part 3 definitely had the best 3D. Now we're kind of like going back to the early 80s again here with all the 3D in the last couple of years, because 3D was big and popular in the 50s with like the Vincent Price House of Wax type of movies. And then around 1981, 82, 83, these little movies started popping up in 3D. And I think one of the first ones was Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D.
That was one of my favorites, and the best 3D for its time, I would say. And all the glasses that they give you now are similar to the ones they give you at Friday the 13th.
You know what my favorite 3D movie was from the early 1980s?
Don't say Treasure of the Four Crowns.
No, it was not. It was Jaws 3D.
Oh, that was a good one. Good one.
The only reason it was good in 3D is because you could see Leah Thompson in a bikini in 3D. Other than that movie sucked.
That's right. At first, I thought that she was actually skinny dipping, but she was wearing her bra and panties, but still an amazing scene.
It was an amazing scene. She definitely had all the right moves in that one. But, Jeff, we're going to wrap this little segment up. What do you think of the new inaugural radio broadcast of After Hours, Jeff?
Oh, it's going pretty good. I think I can't wait to hear it.
Unbelievable. You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. Jeff can't wait to hear it. And we will be right back after this big-time commercial break.
Catch you later.